You guys ever go to the Atheism subreddit like 10 years ago? No, I used to.
Today, we're gonna have a history lesson, so buckle up.
Cashier just told me to have a blessed one. I know it's minor, but for some reason it got under my skin.
Atheists aren't.
I feel like Reddit has always been a place where people that don't have problems invent them. Like, somebody's like, you know what? I'm having a great day. And then they're like, you know what? No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I can fix that. Never mind. Atheists aren't taken seriously as a marginalized group by anyone but ourselves. True, brother.
Taken seriously as a marginalized group by anyone but ourselves.
The best part about being an atheist is I can watch porn and jerk off all day without any guilt.
I'm pretty sure a lot of Christians do that too, and Muslims. Of course, people want, like, everybody's watching porn. What are we talking about here? A Reddit ruined atheism. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
A lot of times we don't ask questions for things we just know, even though we don't know why we know them. A banana is yellow. Yeah, but why is it yellow? Now, in your head, picture
it is what it is.
A stereotypical atheist would look like.
Because it's made out of banana.
Something like this. Now, don't be alarmed. You've been trained to think this way. But why is this the case? Well, it's not due to atheism itself.
What's this here? Why did the style of obnoxious, hyper-aggressive internet atheism that was so popular from around 2007, 2012 die off so suddenly? Well, the reason why is actually pretty simple. It's because it was counterculture, and then it became the culture. Like, atheism, like the r/atheism in like 2009 was like primarily a response to like the, you know, early and mid 2000s and like in the 90s, like religious panics, right? Like Diablo the game, Marilyn Manson, Grand Theft Auto, Columbine, fucking, what's the other one? I'm thinking of a big one, Pokemon, right? So it was a response to that culture. That's why it happened. And it stopped being popular because, like, now there was no longer a religious hegemony to be upset about. Not in the same way that there was in like 2003. And also, a lot of them were kids that grew up in that culture.
In fact, most atheists you know are probably normal people. You might be one yourself and be a normal human being.
Just
but
like
due
me.
to a small minority of internet atheists hell-bent on being the
Jesus. It's like, yeah, the memes were just
most annoying and unlikable people you can imagine,
Yeah.
the public image has been completely destroyed.
Nope.
From a public image perspective, atheists went from pondering intellectuals like Richard Dawkins asking the tough questions to
Right.
neckbeard losers who argue with people.
What's this? Gaming PC done after 8 years. Own a house, learning market, girlfriend is lovely, pizza is good, life is good, may God bless you all. Well, good for him.
With people on the internet all day.
Wrong sub, religious fruitcake. Leave your religion of hate and rape and murder out. Oh, God. We got some real Fedora enjoyers here, huh?
But how did it come to this? Well, once we can understand the ancient Reddit atheists, we can understand why it sucks so much today.
Yeah.
So let's go back to a simpler time, about 12 years ago.
Yeah, I'd say
Reddit
2009,
is a much
2010.
different
Yeah.
place than it is today. Still completely insufferable, but for different reasons.
Completely
You see,
different
when
reasons.
websites first start out, they usually try to pander to a specific demographic and then expand. For example, Facebook was mostly college students, Instagram was for photographers, and TikTok was for predators. Now, when Reddit first started out, it was for a different demographic. Early Reddit was mostly tech bro.
Well, early Reddit were guys. It was basically guys in first world countries between the ages of 15 and 35. Like, I think that would be about 85% of Reddit back in like 2010. It's just how it is.
Nerds, and social outcasts. And what do these guys have in common? Bad social skills.
And I mean, like, it's not necessarily wrong, though, right? I mean, he's not necessarily wrong. Holy shit.
Well, I don't know what I'm calling for. You're gay or straight.
And superiority complexes. This leads to one natural conclusion: atheism. Not really based on the belief of, well, not believing, but the aesthetic of atheism. The rational thinking.
Yeah.
The sharp attire.
Right.
calm demeanor to dismantle somebody's argument
I'm an atheist. It means I don't care about your imaginary friend.
and leave them speechless. At least that was what was in their head.
Yeah.
See, you have to understand, this early brand of atheism has little to do with just atheism, but the presence of what an atheist represents. They weren't
I don't think it was really that big of a thing. I think that the reality is that most of the people that were on these subreddits back in the day, these were people who were like, you know, they were probably between the ages of, again, 15 and 35. And if in 2010 you were 15, right, that means that you're born in 95. Like, you grew up hearing that, like, you know, Marilyn Manson wants you to hate Jesus and stuff like that. And if you're 35, you grew up in a completely different world. And it's hard for me really to explain this because people, it's so far removed from what our culture and our society is now. But back in the day, religion was a huge component of life, and it was referenced all of the time. And I think that why is that? I think another big reason is because, you know, the world wasn't as global back then. And obviously, like, you know, just in America, it was mainly Christians. And so now, because things are more global, you have other religions as well. And then also people that are mainly shitting on, I think this is another big factor, is that people that are like Americans shitting on Christianity is taken a lot differently than, let's say, Americans shitting on Islam or Hinduism. Because, like, at that point, like, these are people that are just going into somebody else's culture and attacking it. So I think as the internet became a lot more, like, universal, and it became a lot more just, like, interconnected, where you're dealing with people that are, like, Muslims all the time and, like, Hindus all the time, like, they don't want to hear from some American that, like, oh, Muhammad, oh, no, it's not true. Like, he actually didn't go to the moon on, like, a horse or something like that in the book. I don't remember exactly. Or, like, no, like, Shiva's not real or some kind of shit. Because it's from a different culture. Huh? Yeah, no, I think he did. I don't remember. I'd have to look it up again. What'd he do? No? He split the moon? Something. He split the moon in half. Okay, all right. So yeah, no, it's he didn't fly there. He just split it in half, guys. And so the point is that whenever you're criticizing and mocking something that's from a different culture as yours, it's seen as more of a bad thing. That's why, for example, you know, you have all these black comics that go up and make jokes about black people, but you don't have a lot of white comics doing the same thing. And then the white comics make jokes about white people. You know, Gabriel Iglesias makes jokes about, like, Hispanic people, right? And so it's like kind of an unspoken rule that it's okay to kind of mock yourself and things that you have a shared characteristic with, right? And that's just how it is. And so I think that also is a big factor. It's safe to shit on Christianity. I think that, like, anytime that I see somebody who's, like, not a Christian shitting on Christianity on, like, Twitter and stuff, a lot of people get really mad about it. Like, I don't know. I see that quite often. Now, I think Christianity is, like, more okay to shit on because we're in a Western society, and Christianity is the dominant religion in Western society. So, yeah, of course, that's going to make sense. But, yeah, I don't necessarily think it's entirely that. Americans are still very religious. Well, they are, but, like, again, if you say they're very religious, I think that you are just taking out, like, a tremendous amount of context. Like, how many of you guys are, like, over 30? And, like, you remember how it was back whenever we were growing up? It was way different than it is now. Totally fucking different.
Necessarily passionate about what it means to be an atheist. They just wanted to see themselves as smarter and different. And given they were using Reddit in 2010, let's just say they were outsiders. And these guys infested every corner of the platform.
Oh, yeah, you did have a lot of these guys, the debunkers, right? Anytime you say, like, oh, I swear to God, and then there'd be somebody in chat, oh, no, well, how could you do that? He's not real. It's like, oh, God, bro, I'll just activate your trap card. Oh, fuck. You know?
In the day. They were everywhere. Now, Reddit worked similar to how it does now, but the core demographic was more concentrated on geeks who tried to adopt this aesthetic. Nowadays, it would be seen as lame to post about how your parents make you, a 15-year-old, that could be doing way cooler things like not hanging out with the friends you don't have, go to Sunday school, and you hate it. I
think there's also another factor of where the average age of Reddit users and internet users has increased. Whereas before, it was basically, American or Western males between 15 and 35. Why is this so bad? Is it, holy shit, why is it like this? Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I don't know why that happened. Let me make sure it works here. Christians are the most persecuted religious group in the world and in the West, definitely the most ridiculed and abused. Christians are the most persecuted religious group. I don't know, like, I don't really think that's true, personally. I think that, like, especially after September 11th, like, if you want to look at, like, culturally, I think it's probably Muslims, right? Muslims are probably the main religious group that a large contingency of America would say is, like, this is bad just categorically. And Jews, I don't know. I think nowadays it could be Jews, right? With, like, the Israel thing and, you know, the whole Kanye West stuff that happened. Muslim isn't a religion. Well, Muslims follow the religion of Islam, right? Are there Muslims that aren't following Islam? I think you mean Arab, right?
Eyes infested every...
I want to put an end to religions. Dude, this is the fucking... Dude, this is peak, bro. This is absolute fucking peak. I'm a 17-year-old boy, and I want to do what it says above. I have researched very well, and I think that I am more than capable to do it, at least make a lot of young people stop believing, and that most people base everything on the scientific method. Oh my god, bro. Jesus, that was me at 14? Yes. And, like, how many of you guys could see yourself making a post like this whenever you were, like, a kid? Like, I could have seen myself maybe doing something like this at, like, 15. Yeah. For sure. And, like, so what happened over time is that Reddit became, like, it was not a monolith of, like, just one group of people. So now you have people that are from completely different parts of the world, totally different cultures, 55-year-olds. And also, I think people become more religious as they get older. I think this is just, is it a coping mechanism because they're getting closer to death or people around them die? I don't really know. But the reality is that I think it happens. And so it would make sense that as the average age on the website is going up, there would be less people that are, like, super staunch atheists, because I think that primarily it's a response, you know, it's like a fucking, like, fuck you, mom, I'm not going to go to church. I'm not going to mass. No, I'm not. I want to go to mass, but I want to wear the shirt that said, Raptor Jesus died for your sins, you know, or some kind of shit like that, right? And so whenever somebody does that to other 14-year-olds, they're like, yeah, bro, tell that bitch, yeah. But, like, you know, if fucking 40-year-old dude is like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, you know, and they're thinking, man, I wish I could go to mass with my mom again, maybe because their mom's passed away. They're not able to spend time with their mom the same as they used to, right? So it's like just a completely different outlook on life. And the outlook that people had with, like, r/atheism was something that was a product of its time and the product of the people that had that perspective based off of the demographics. You grow up, yeah, that's just how it is.
Corner of the platform.
Religion's fading out. I thought religion was falling off for a while, but it seems to have been made a comeback. I think religion's making a comeback nowadays. I do. I think it's making a pretty big comeback.
The day. They were everywhere. Now, Reddit worked similar to how it does now,
Jesus
but the core
too.
demographic was more concentrated on geeks who tried to adopt this aesthetic. Nowadays, it would be seen as lame to post about how your parents make you, a 15-year-old, that could be doing way cooler things like not hanging out with the friends you don't have, go to Sunday school, and you hate it.
I had to go to Sunday school.
That would be seen as super lame to post.
It was on Wednesday, though.
Or maybe not, actually. I don't know. It depends on who we're dealing with. But we'll get into that later. Back in the day, this post would have been...
Yeah, bro, this would have been at least, like, this would have gotten so many updates. Like, this would have been, oh, man, this would have been at the top of the Reddit page.
With universal praise. Anything calling out how stupid it was would be destroyed. Because remember, most of the users in this time period were intellectually superior atheists.
Right.
They were the majority on not just our atheism, but every board. Just to put into perspective how big their presence was.
The atheism board, and so, like, this is, you know, another one was like this back in the day. Atheism was also r/trees. So if you remember, trees was a subreddit for them to talk about weed. And so it's like, oh yeah, it's about trees. And it was always, and you know the people that were on that subreddit. It was 22-year-old guys that don't shave. That's it. And so guess what, and like, again, back in the day, in 2009, 2010, like, weed was illegal basically everywhere. But like now there's not really the need for this like weird counterculture group of people that make their entire personality smoking weed and they act like they're persecuted, because in a lot of places they're not persecuted anymore. You don't need it anymore. You could just say, yeah, I smoke weed, sure. It became normalized. So that's why that type of culture died out. And like in a way it didn't really die out, it was just dispersed into the public. Like I think that like you guys might remember, who remembers in 2008 whenever Barack Obama was legitimately criticized for saying that he smoked weed? And like 2008 wasn't that long ago, right?
To make default subreddits based on popularity.
Yeah, and then remember Bill Clinton, I smoked weed but I didn't inhale. And so like it's kind of weird like where you look at each president and the way that they approach marijuana. And like Trump, like I don't think Trump really did fucking anything with it, hardly. But I remember whenever he was running, he said, I don't really give a fuck, right? He just didn't really care. And people were happy about that. So yeah, Clinton was doing worse stuff. That's what I'm saying. You ever drank or smoked? Yeah.
So if you logged into Reddit without an account, you'd be able to see the default most popular subreddits like gaming, funny, etc. And at the time, r/atheism was one of these most popular.
It was like top 5
subreddits with their highly stimulating posts.
And anyone else sick of God being autocorrected to capital G God? It drives me nuts. And this is the thing, right? Is like, this is a person, they're making a Reddit, like it's just like, this is like a problem for a person that doesn't have any. It's like, oh geez, I'm bored. Okay, all right, let me think. Oh, wow. Like car doors, are they annoying? They too heavy? Like, I don't know. Like, what about like the new drink cups at McDonald's? Like, should I get mad about that? Oh, I know. God being capitalized on my fucking smartphone. That's what it is.
Like, my parents said I am too smart. And these weren't just atheists.
Oh.
These were super ultra instinct atheists. Yeah. Other atheists who said, come on guys, religion isn't all that.
I'll tell you guys, whenever atheism died, r/atheism died, it died whenever they all started posting pictures of themselves. That killed it. That was it. They did that. Remember Faces of Atheism? And that was the end. Why?
As they got more
because they were fat and ugly and they looked like losers. Duh. It's bad marketing. It's like you say, hey, look at us. We're all a bunch of fucking losers. Yeah, and it's like, I'm sorry, like I'm saying it in a, or they're super skinny like I am, right? Well, basically, these guys were not Giga Chads. They looked like fucking losers. They looked like people that like, this is like the guy that, like he'll eat lunch by himself in the cafeteria and he'll, like draw pictures of anime girls or talk to himself, or he'll have like a list of people. He looks at them. He's writing something down while he's looking at people. It's like, oh God, fucking, I want to make friends with him. So, he'll tell me what day not to go to school for, right? Like that's the kind of person that we're the ones posting these pictures, right? Yeah. Death notes. Exactly. Right. And so this is the truth, right? And like, yeah. And please stop. Yeah. I mean, it's just how it is. And so my point is that nobody wants to be associated with a bunch of fucking losers. It's actually like it sounds fucked up to say, but like nobody wants to be associated with a bunch of ugly fucking losers. Straight up. It's the truth. Like the anti-work. Yes, you are so right. Anti-work. Do you remember anti-work was powerful? It was strong. It was a movement. It's going to change America. We're going to have our own people, and they're going to say, go to Congress. We're going to vote for them, and they're going to say, no more working. Just stay home. And then that one dog walker who looked like a fucking clown went on Jesse Waters' show on Fox, and then anti-work was a joke. You know why? Because he looked like a fucking loser. And who the fuck wants to be a loser? I mean, who wants to be a fucking loser? Who wants to be a 30-year-old dog walker? Nobody wants to do that. Yeah, a person sucked. Yeah, pull the clip. He was a loser. Yeah, he was a loser. He's a 30-year-old dog walker. And Jesse Waters is a fucking asshole. Guy's a massive dickhead. But somehow, and it's like, again, all of the 50-year-olds watching this, all of the other people, like, they want to say, oh, yeah, I'm part of anti-work. Like, oh, yeah, I saw that. There's that one loser on TV. Nobody wants to be like this. Let's watch it, show the clip. I don't need to show the clip. The point is that you go look it up. I remember I talked about it for a while. The point is that if your group of people is full of losers, people don't want to be part of your group. And that's what happened to r/atheism. It wasn't the holier than thou, ironically, of course, perspective of like science over religion. It wasn't the sense of superiority. It wasn't the obnoxious inserting it into every conversation. Like, all of these were footnotes behind being fat and ugly or skinny and ugly. That's the main problem. Don't be a fucking loser. Or bald and ugly, yeah.
Popular, they got more bold with their moves. Because their sub was so popular, they could expand. They decided to put faces to their Reddit accounts. The faces of...
Oh, God, bro, he knows. This is the beginning of the end. The I am euphoric. Remember that?
Atheism. With some of their favorite quotes. Sometimes, when I meet a new person, religion comes up. At which point, they learn I'm an atheist. This is the moment when they feel the need to tell me there's something wrong with me. Jesus Christ. That they know what my problems are, and that they can in fact help. This once angry...
And again, like, this perspective is totally unrelatable now. But back in the 90s and the 2000s, people did treat you like this. Like, this was a real thing that people would say. Because I would tell people I was an atheist back then, right? Like, that was my perspective, because I would say I was a mid-power level, right? Like, not like max power level like this, not full euphoria, but, I was just aware. And, anyway, so I would go and I would think this, but like, people would treat me like that growing up. I remember, oh my God, there was one time we went to this function at church, and it was like at my friend's church, and I had a hoodie on that had skulls on it that my dad had bought me. And I remember somebody found the hoodie and gave it to the pastor, and the pastor spent like an hour or 2 hours talking about it. And my dad was there, and my dad, like, he's trying to be really, really nice. So he's just like, okay, yeah, whatever, right? And at the same time, he was fucking pissed because I brought this hoodie. But like, yeah, they made like an entire sermon about this whenever I was a kid. I'm not even kidding you. An hour? Yeah, it probably was an hour. It felt like a fucking hour, I'll tell you that. It's so weird, yeah. And so, like, again, look at the picture of this guy. If this is the guy, this guy's probably 30. He's probably 30 years old. So he makes this post 10 years ago. He grew up in the 90s, right? He grew up in the 90s and 80s. So, like, he was treated this way.
However, now, I just feel sorry for them. They don't think.
Yeah.
They know. They have all the answers. Of course, the truth is, none of us do. I just wish they were okay with that.
Yeah. You serious?
You serious?
If you want to see more of these, there's a link in the description.
Oh, yeah.
You'd assume that all of these are joke posts.
So you can see my point, right? You can see my point?
But I
was
promise
there.
you, they are not. And here's why. This was back in 2012, a pre-ironic internet. Back
Players
then, we
get
didn't
chicks.
have cringe humor expressed in memes. It was
Well, the cringe humor was expressed in memes, but people didn't think it was cringe. That's the difference. They just thought it was humor. Yeah, it was just humor. Fat equals loser? Well, yeah. I mean, if you look at somebody and they're fat and they look like they're out of shape, people assume that you're a loser. Yeah, it's about right. Same with me, right? It's not like fat's the only way you can be a loser. You can be a loser by looking like me, too. That's just how it is. I'm not saying it's the right thing. Of course, it's sad that people get judged that way. But it doesn't make it not true.
It's just advice animals or observational humor.
I used to love these. I absolutely love these because this was a golden age of the internet for me. Back in the day, this is what you used to do on 4chan. Is you used to go on 4chan and there would be entire threads dedicated to these kinds of memes, and then everybody would go and make their own memes and contribute like a part of it, and it was so fucking funny. Because everybody had their own little thing that they were able to make a joke about based off of like a common thing, right? With like the raptor or like the fucking awkward fucking penguin or one of these things. And I love this because it was actually creative. This is one of the only things about the internet back in the day that I miss more. I think I miss this more than anything, is because everybody was going and being creative in their own way. Whereas now it's like, hey, do you know the way? No, I don't know the way. It's like every joke nowadays is like Marco Polo. Say the stupid thing, then they say the other stupid thing. And then you do it back and forth until you get bored. Holy shit. And it's especially true on Twitch. Holy fuck. This was the golden age of memes, guys. I'll tell you that. It was beautiful.
Or observational humor. So making a troll post like this at the time was not as common as it is today. But why am I showing you these? Because they're funny? Well, yes. But also, this is to show you that this is where the stereotype comes from. The fedora? Well, fedoras were seen as classy, and these guys were certainly that in their eyes. Fat? They were nerds who didn't exercise. Neckbeards? They didn't know how to properly groom themselves, so instead of just shaving their neckbeard like most normal guys do, they would just grow it out. Now these...
Oh, I mean, to be fair, okay, here's the thing, is that this guy looks like a Scottish Gandalf, all right? He looks great. The problem isn't that it isn't that they had beards. The problem is that they had these fucking garbage beards. It's like me, if I did, like, I my beard is getting there right now. Because, like, I haven't shaved this side and, like, my neck. I look kind of like shit. Yeah, it's unshaved and shitty. Yeah, pube beards. Yeah, you ever seen somebody that tries to grow a beard and it just looks like they have pubes on their face? They, like, glued them onto their face? That was the problem.
Now, these figures aren't necessarily rare these days. They still exist, but back in early Reddit times, these guys were everywhere and
May Allah guide you. May Harry Potter grant good spells at you. See how fucking stupid you sound? And you know this guy thought he was smart. And you know it. You know it, bro.
No, they weren't joking. And I want to emphasize this further.
Yeah.
At this point, it has nothing to do with atheism. It has to do with Reddit atheism, which are two completely separate things in my eyes. So with all of these guys running around with such great arguments as, if bad thing happened, then why God let it? And does anybody else notice that religion bad? People started to get a bit annoyed.
Will you two shut up?
But because these guys...
Well, it's also because they started winning. That's the truth. The atheists won. We live in a tremendously different, like, society than we did 15 years ago. They did. Like, we live in a... So, like, let's look at it. Let's look like a God meter, okay? Like, let's say we were 70% Jesus in, like, the 2000s. We were, like, 85% Jesus in the 90s. Well, now we're only, like, 20% Jesus, okay? Very, very low Jesus ratings. So it becomes different, like, whenever you're shitting on a group that is basically controlling society, or a group that you feel like is at the, what's a good way to say it? Whenever you're shitting on a group that is the hegemony, right? You're shitting on the powers that be. And it's very different like that versus you shitting on people that have now lost that power. It's like punching down. Yes, exactly. It's exactly punching down. Yes, because culturally... Keep in mind, culturally in America, it's okay to punch down. Fat girls can complain about skinny bitches. Let's see. It's more acceptable to be racial or racist towards white people than black people. It's more okay for women to say men are trash than men say women are trash. It's okay to eat the rich, but you can't eat the poor. It's very fucking common. And it is socially acceptable. Punch up. Or yes, that's what I mean. Sorry. It's socially acceptable to punch up, but not to punch down. Excuse me. Yeah. Eat the poor based. Yeah. And that's the way it works. So whether you agree with this or not, I don't think you should punch anybody, but this is what's generally socially acceptable. And so whenever they were doing atheism back then, they were punching up. But now they're not anymore. They're punching down. So it has a different societal, what do you call it? Like basically like vibe.
Guys were the mainstream, they controlled the upvotes. Until one day, somebody with the username AA Lewis made a post to r/atheism that would shake the internet forever. This post might be the single most iconic post in internet history. There is a time before this post and after this post. The pre-irony and post-irony.
What was this?
Welcome to a moment in history. So it starts out with the OP saying they came up with a quote just a few minutes ago and they thought the subreddit would enjoy it. They go on to clarify that they are not a professional quote maker. They're just an atheist teenager who greatly values their own intelligence and scientific fact over any silly fictional book written 3,500 years ago. I hereby present you with the quote. In this moment, I am euphoric.
Yep.
Not because of any phony god's
And then they kept posting this fucking quote over all of the fat guys in fedoras.
blessing, but because I am enlightened by my intelligence. AA Lewis. Do you have to cover your head with a fedora? Well, maybe you could use the help of today's sponsor, Keeps.
Oh my god.
Keeps is an online subscription service that helps you retain your hair. Everyone knows with hair loss, the best way to go about it is to catch it before
I think I'm going to go to a hair transplant guy. I am. I'm going to see what they can do. I think I'm going to do it. You know, I promised I'd do this like 2 years ago. I still haven't done it. I think I'm going to go and do it, and I'm going to record it. I promised people I would go to a place, I'd get a consultation, I'd record it. I'm going to do it. I've decided. It's going to happen.
It's bad, and Keeps is here to help you with that. They'll ship you discreet medication at a fraction of the cost that you get it from other brands. And they'll deliver straight to your door. So if you want to get started with Keeps today, to get 50% off your first order, go to keeps.com/ghostgum or click the link in the description. That's KEEPS.com/ghostgum. Thank you, Keeps, for sponsoring this video. Let's get back into it. This post was relentless.
There it is. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, I think I probably, if I go to my old PC, I probably have some of these saved on my PC because I thought they were so fucking funny. Yeah, this was so fucking hilarious. The Sonic shit? Yeah, like, the Sonic t-shirt. Yeah. Yeah, bro. Like, this was it. And again, I think that the quote wouldn't have been that bad. It was because of the pictures, man.
Mocked. It became the centerpiece of mocking these self-important atheists. And it went super viral. First it was posted on r/cringe where it gained over 3,000 upvotes. Then somebody misattributed the quote to Neil deGrasse Tyson, an atheism hero. Then it got into 4chan. Then Tumblr. Then goddamn Urban Dictionary changed the definition of euphoric and used this post as an example. It went to the corners of normie internet.
Everybody
like
used this.
And bodybuilding.
By the way, like, nobody back in the day was actually a normie on the internet. Everybody on the internet in 2009 or 2010 was a fucking loser. Okay, we were all fucking losers. It was so good. It was great.
Forums. It was everywhere. And we all had a good laugh.
Yeah.
And because of this, people started making troll posts on r/atheism.
Jesus.
Now, these existed before, but not in this magnitude. They made a mockery of the whole persona they presented themselves as.
Free thinker.
This was essentially the birth of ironic memes. Ironically pretending to be a smart up-your-ass atheist. And due to this, the previous aesthetic that they had established went from cool and mysterious to embarrassing and lame.
Again, I think that it was all because of the pictures. I think that if they had never posted all of the pictures of themselves, that this would have like that post would have just gone by. It would have been like whatever. It was about the pictures, man.
Even their idols like the Amazing Atheist and Bill Nye were seen as uncool by proxy. But I guess anybody would be seen as uncool if you shove a banana up your ass.
IQ and the triple digits, I guess, whatever.
It could be argued that this single post not only brought down the Reddit atheism aesthetic, but had massive ripple effects on internet humor and memes that we see today. And that is the—
Well, no one wants to look like a loser. Like, I don't understand. Like, I really think that this point really needs to be focused on. No kidding. Yeah, nobody does. And it's actually that simple. It's very, that's it. Or associated with people who look like losers. Yeah. Even losers don't want to look like losers. There's the mask.
The story of how Reddit ruined atheism.
Yeah.
Reddit changed for the better, and they all lived happily ever after. This attitude of I am intellectually superior to you because I use Reddit is most certainly not gone if you've watched any of the videos on my channel.
No, there's a lot of people that are like that nowadays even. Right? There's always, like, I actually, of all of the groups of people, I think I hate Redditors the most. Because 4chan users know that they're fucking stupid. X users are just racist psychos. Facebook users only know how to use Facebook. They can't even use another website. So they just believe, like, oh yeah, the moon. Well, what do you mean the moon landing was real? There isn't even a moon. You know, like, everywhere else, people either know that they're fucking insane and they embrace it. Like, YouTube commenters are just, it's just YouTube comments. But there's something about the update system in Reddit that makes people feel like it's like this fucking, it's like a sanctimoniousness and like a sense of self-importance that's nowhere else on the internet except for Reddit. Reddit is the worst. It's a validation system? Yeah. No one can top Twitter tards? No, I think that Redditors are a lot worse than Twitter users. I do.
Alive and just as bad. And so is r/atheism, although it doesn't have the same influence or shimmer it once did. The posts there are still hilariously embarrassing. I am convinced that r/atheism—
The church had a secret service today at 2 and the cops busted them thanks to me telling them.
will be full of these self-flagellating basement dwellers until the end of time. But at least we can publicly laugh at
Reddit
them on their own platform now. And if you didn't know why...
this is it, right? Like, look. I mean, guys, it is what it is. I had those pants back in the day.
Katana was a stereotype.
They didn't have the chains, though.
Now you know. I often get asked this and even ponder myself, why are Redditors so insufferable? It is really...
The reason why is because of the upvote system and the fact that you can literally silence people for having wrong opinions. So it creates more groupthink, and because of the groupthink focus, people always want to have the right opinion and say the right thing. So the focus isn't even about having a conversation or telling the truth. It becomes a game of how can I type something in chat or type something on this website that will validate me the most. That's why Reddit is bad. If Reddit got rid of the update system, the website would probably be better.
The ultimate question.
Like, for example, like on 4chan, right? One guy can have a fucking massive, 5-paragraph, well-reasoned out argument and explain himself, and the guy underneath would be like, oh yeah, well here's a picture of my dick. And those posts are equally promoted. Everybody is the same. And also, it gives the person the capacity to have the wrong opinion safely. Where on Reddit, you can't have the wrong opinion. Like, I've seen this times where, like, people will go on Reddit and they'll, like, go through your whole post history. They'll try to, like, find out where you live, make things super personal. Oh, yeah. It's too much.
And I think it goes deep into the roots of the website. As we can see, this attitude of, I am smarter than you and everyone else is an idiot, stems back to the site's creation, and still definitely exists today. Being so far up your own ass that you embarrass yourself and have zero self-awareness, it certainly hasn't changed. Go to any subreddit that talks about complicated things like politics, religion or something along those lines and observe for yourself. How many
Would support religion being treated as a mental health condition.
of touch and embarrassing posts you can find from people who take themselves 100% seriously on a website where the mascot
I did
is
not say I wanted to be a vigilante.
an alien. Just for a second, imagine asking for a source in the Reddit comments. Scary, huh? While average Reddit
I think it's pretty fair for people to ask for sources. I think that's okay. The problem is that people will ask for a source for something that's obvious. Men are generally taller than women. Source? What? What do you... What?
have changed over the years, the mindset and body fat percentage remains the same. Being an atheist is like enjoying Marvel movies in a sense that it's fine, but
No. The thing is, like, being a Reddit atheist wasn't like enjoying Marvel movies. It was like, you know what it was like? It was like you only watch movies from France that have subtitles, and you constantly talk about how bad Marvel movies are. That's what Reddit atheists were like.
when you make it your entire personality,
Yeah.
well, this might be a little harsh,
Ooh.
but it needs to be said. You're a Redditor. So what have we learned today? Well, if you want to ruin something, give it to Reddit. And soon enough, you'll poison the well for anybody interested. And rest in peace to A.A. Lewis, responsible for a historic internet moment.
He destroyed atheism forever. This guy was Jesus' 13th apostle. And he came precisely whenever the time was needed.
That will live
Yep.
in infamy for years to come. Next time you see one of these people embarrassing themselves, think about that. Think about where they came from. Here's one more funny post I just want to share.
Praying for
before I
you
end
and
the
your
video.
family.
I found this one on r/Afghanistan when the Taliban invaded. Somebody was saying how their village was invaded by the Taliban, and they were very scared. And someone left a comment saying, "Praying for you and your family."
Yeah.
And this benevolent gentleman replied, "If only praying ever did anything." And another thing I noticed while researching this video, people still use the term Sky Daddy, unironically.
I never
it's
heard of that.
2012, which is
Yeah.
very funny and
Yeah, I never heard of that
embarrassing
one before.
secondhand.
Yeah, I think that's really the
Today,
reality.
we're gonna-
I think what happened to r/race, I was gonna say r/racism. Oh God. They had a lot of those, by the way, back in the day. There was like a whole like empire of like subreddits dedicated to not liking like either black people, Indian people. There was like a subreddit, like basically like they would invent these things. Fat people hate. There used to be a subreddit that was all about, like, they would post a picture of a fat person, and then everybody in the comments would be like, wow, look at this fucking hog. Oh, God. Look how fucking fat he is. Oh, shit. Look at this fat fuck. And they're up on you, bro, yeah, you see this fat ass? And it was just going on and on and on. Hey, I'm Planet. Yeah, remember that? Yeah. And it was just like, I remember like thinking back on it, it was so fucking ridiculous. But this was like the peak. This was like peak fucking content. Yeah, and does the Paul jokes are funny? Yeah, exactly. And dear fat people, yeah. And so the reason why Reddit atheism died is pretty simple. They posted pictures of themselves and they looked collectively like losers, or at least enough of them did to where it became a stereotype. And then also the sense of self-importance. I think that's another big reason why they kind of fell off, is that, people like that are insufferable and annoying. Also, I think that in general, like, there are people that are probably 20 now that act the same way as they did back then. But as the age of the internet kind of went collectively up and became more diverse, you brought in a lot of people who, I think, as I said, as you get older, you become more religious for whatever reason, probably a lot of different reasons. 2000s, but that also was a factor, so it diluted the amount of people that were actually strongly feeling that way. And then also, of course, the quote was like, again, it was the straw that broke the camel's back, but it really didn't cause it to happen. Really, the damage was done with the pictures. After they posted the pictures, that was it. Yeah, that was the end of it right there. And then also, I think, too, again, it's the punching down thing and punching up. Back in 2010, you were punching up at religious people, and now you're punching down at them because religion doesn't have the same control and stranglehold over our culture that it used to back in the 2000s or back in the 90s. That's just it. I think that's another big factor. Like, the atheism isn't a thing as a counterculture movement because it doesn't need to be anymore because they won. That's the truth. They won. Now, that's what I think. All these things. I'll talk about it a little bit more. Islam is even more control than back then. Yeah, but Islam is something in an Arab country, and Arabs weren't getting on English Reddit. Like, that's just how it is. They're not going on English Reddit typing shit. Yeah, in the EU, yeah. And Europe? Oh, yeah, no, I know there's a lot of Muslims in Europe and stuff like that. Yeah, I've seen this stuff on, like, Twitter, etc. But the point that I'm making is that that's still, like, that is a minor fraction of what it used to be. Islam is super prevalent here in Minneapolis, huge Somalian population. Maybe, yeah. I'm just talking about collectively. I'm sure there's places that are like that, definitely. Let's see here. Atheism Plus supported Islam. Well, I think Atheism Plus supported Islam because it wasn't really just atheism, it was anti-Christianity. Because, again, a lot of the people there were there as a counter movement against, like, how they were raised. Like, they just didn't like Christians because they grew up Christian. I'm sure that there were a ton of other people that, like, for example, like, Islam is, like, the culture over there is totally different, right? And, like, how they have, like, control, like, they don't have, like, freedom of speech in the same way that, like, we do, right? So, like, they can't really go on and talk about it. But I'm sure if they had the ability to, there would be plenty of people that were, like, you know, ex-Muslims that would say the same thing growing up. And I've even seen it on Twitter. There's plenty of people that are like, yeah, growing up I was like this, and like now I'm not like this at all, right? So I think that really it was a cultural thing. And that's why I was saying before, but like we don't see that because they're speaking Arabic and on another fucking website. You know, it's totally different. There's a website, a subreddit called Ex-Muslim. Yeah, sure. Draw near God and he'll draw near you. Yeah, sure. Ex-Muslim is a subreddit on Reddit. Yeah, but like how I'm talking about its popularity. Of course, all that stuff is there. What the fuck is Atheist Plus? Everybody talking about? Atheism Plus was the beginning of identity politics. Atheism Plus, I think, was just people that were against. Like, if I don't really remember this very well, because I always thought it was kind of dumb. But I think it was like just atheism in terms of governance, like governing things through, instead of through. Like religious morals, like kind of intrinsic morals and like logical ethical conclusions. Yeah, secularism. Yeah, kind of, right? I think so. Retail atheism. It was a very long time ago. In an age where it seems like the moral fabric of society is falling apart, people tend to cling to moral institutions that preach wholesome values and tradition. They want normalcy and for things to be safe and moral like they were growing up. Yeah, but, like, you could say that about the past 3,000 years, okay? Like, aren't there fucking texts of Socrates saying that, oh, the generation nowadays, all they want to do is drink and party and they don't want to learn? Like, this has been the same forever. I don't think there's anything that's special about today. I'll link you. This is such a great video, by the way. This is such a good... I love this video. Make sure to give it a like. This is so good. Came out a year ago. I don't know how I missed this one. Let's see. Here's a Mesopotamian tablet saying the same thing. Yeah, every generation says the same shit about the new generation whenever they become the boomers. Exactly, man. And there's nothing really to... It's not a bad thing. It's just how it is. Look up payphone stacking from the 1950s and teach me integration is not doing dumb shit. Yeah, everybody does dumb shit. Said earlier, I don't have much respect for atheists. Agnostics, sure, but atheists, how can you not believe that there's a higher power above the shitstorm that's humanity? I think that's a stupid argument, man. Well, there has to be one because things are dumb. I feel like you can make that argument from the exact opposite direction. Like, listen, man, this is my perspective on it, all right? It would be great if there was a God. If I knew there was a God, this would solve a number of existential problems in my life, right? I would be, oh, okay, oh, yeah, that makes sense, right? But I don't know that. There's not enough evidence for it. And if I die and, like, God's like, well, why didn't you believe in me? I'm like, well, why didn't you fucking come down and tell me? Why can't you just come down for, like, 5 minutes, turn a bird into a trumpet, and then, oh, look at that, or turn a bird into a car. Oh, okay, all right, well, looks like God's real. Okay, cool, well, now I believe. Shit. Yeah, just come down, let me know, and then we can move on. That's what I think. Yeah, into a dragon, yeah. What the fuck? So, yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily, like, disbelieve or believe. Like, I don't really know. I don't think there's a lot of evidence for it. I'll tell you that for sure. I've seen people's evidence for it. Not really evidence. Some guy died, and then he said that he saw God. Oh, okay. Oh, so he said that this happened. Okay. So it's not evidence. All right, got it. Yeah. Right. It's like alien evidence. It's like, you want to hear about, like, you know, proof aliens exist? It's a 75-year-old guy talking. Well, back in the day, I used to be in the Air Force, and, you know, flying around, we, you know, occasionally we have these blips on the radar, and they'd be there for a second, and then they'd be gone. And I asked my superior about it. He said, don't ask about that no more. And that's whenever I knew we had a connection with the other side. And how many of them are like that? They're all like that. It's crazy. Like, what's insane to me is, like, how subjective people's standards of evidence are. Like, somebody can want 500 different peer-reviewed essays about why climate change is real for them to believe it. But, oh, somebody said the vaccine is fake. And so, yeah, I think it's fake. That's fake. Yeah, I don't believe it. No. Oh, aliens are real? Of course they're real. There's a video of a guy saying that they're real. Why would he lie? It's like people have completely subjective standards for evidence for different things that they do and they don't agree with. It's bad. We're starting to get smartphones. You'd think the amount of videos of UFOs would explode. Well, bro, I said it was crazy how God just, like, decided, bro, like, this miracle shit, let's turn this off as soon as they made cameras. Like, he's like, you know, he just stopped doing miracles the same time they do cameras. Like, what do you think the odds of that shit is, right? Come on. Same with ghosts disappearing. Yeah, where are all these ghosts and shit? Where are all these Bigfoot sightings? Wait, my mom told my COVID vaccine was fake because it happened so fast. Well, I don't know. Like, I'm not a understander of this kind of shit. But what I'm saying is, like, have you guys noticed this? That, like, some people have, like, a totally different standard of evidence for things that they agree with and disagree with. It's like something that they agree with. They're like, they look it up and it's like, yes. And, like, the source is, like, there's a Twitter comment from 2018 that said yes. And then, like, something they don't disagree with, they're like, okay, yeah, but source? Okay, but source on that source. Okay, how many people were in the study, though? Okay, well, who did the study? All right, so how was the study conducted? When did it happen? Okay, it was 5 years ago? Okay, so it's invalid then. Got it. That's how it is. Flat earthers, yeah. Asmongold discovers biases. Well, I think it's an interesting bias, right? Because a bias is very, like, a bias means a lot of things. But, like, I think an evidence bias is something that people don't really talk about a lot. Am I crazy? I feel like nobody does. It means a lot of things. So are you an atheist? I don't know. I don't find it important to label myself. I find it to be inconsequential, and it doesn't really matter to me. Like, I don't need to say, oh, I'm an atheist or I'm not an atheist or anything like that. It's just, you know, see what happens. I don't think anybody, this is what I think, though. I think nobody has any fucking idea. I think we're not even remotely close to knowing. Nobody has pierced the veil. Nobody has even come close. It's never happened. People just think it has. Yeah, there's a guy that said it happened. Yeah, there's like a video of a guy from like 1991 who said that he talked to God. So, I mean, like, if he wasn't, if it wasn't God who he was talking to, who was he talking to? Explain that. Checkmate, atheists.